Hello guys, this is your friend and we are back with a new fanfic. Which is what if Naruto died at 8, and the Queen of Hell made him a god-tier demon king? Part 1. And if you enjoy this fanfic then please press the like button and subscribe to my channel for more fanfic like this. And now let's start the fanfic. Do you know why you are here, Naruto? Hiruzen, the third Hokage, asked an 8-year-old boy who was sitting in front of him. The young boy had blonde spiky hair and sky-blue menacing eyes. He wore a red t-shirt with black swirl on the back. For pants he had on black cargo pants tucked into black boots. He used to stomp out fools who tried him. Hell yeah, Naruto answered with crossed arms and sat in the chair like he owned the place. He had his leg across the other while his hand rested on his cheek and a smirk played on his face. The boy looked like some king talking to an elder, and if you asked Naruto, this is exactly how he felt. Hiruzen sighed. It had been 8 years since the Nine Tails attack, which was sealed inside Naruto. The boy had not lived an easy life. Hated from birth since someone leaked the information about his status, Naruto was hated with a passion. They overcharged him, sold him spoiled goods, and even tried to beat him. That was put to a stop when the blonde boy was fighting back and injured them heavily, sending many to the hospital from stab wounds, broken bones, and bruises. Naruto would often train himself since nobody wanted to help the boy, which led to him unlocking his chakra on his own and using it to defend himself. Because the blonde 8-year-old boy would fight back and strike to kill, many tried to have him killed or put in jail. The civilians called him a demon in human skin, but instead of making the boy feel bad he seemed to relish in it, which greatly worried Hiruzen to no end. When trying to play grandfather to Naruto, Hiruzen was simply blown off and told to go FCK himself. It appeared Naruto didn't respect him at all, and Hiruzen tried to make a connection, but the boy just didn't trust him or want anything to do with him. Why are you like this? I've tried to help you, but you always push me away. Hiruzen questions the boy while rubbing his head. He was getting tired of this. Naruto chuckled. You tried getting close to me. Naruto scoffed. You think offering to pay for my food is going to make me trust you? Don't be foolish. I've done so much. You've done nothing. Naruto calmly interrupted the Hokage. You are the Hokage, but yet you could only get me an apartment in the worst part of the village. You are the Hokage but can't give me enough money to pay for my bills and food. You let me get kicked out of school and watch as those fools curse me. Naruto spat out towards Hiruzen. He was getting tired of this and had better things to do, like checking to see if his little sister was okay. The Hokage let out a breath. Let's just get back to why we are here. Hiruzen picked up a paper he received from the academy principal today. It says you violently beat up a group of boys and sent them to the hospital. You stomped one's head until he passed out and beat another kid with a steel pipe. And hung the other kid by his underwear at the front of the building. Hiruzen sat the paper down and looked at the smirking face of Naruto. Got there good, didn't I? Naruto laughed before his face turned into a sneer. But it didn't say why I did it. Yes, Naruto. Why did you do it? Hiruzen asked, but already had an idea on why Naruto attacked the boys without mercy. Because they were bullying Sakura-chan. And they should know by now that Sakura Haruno is under my protection, and attacking her is suicidal. Naruto said angrily that some idiots would dare bully his little sister. Hiruzen took a drag from his pipe. He remembered when Naruto had met Sakura and almost went to a detention center. Flashback. Look at your big forehead. A boy said, tapping a pink-haired girl's head. Yay, I could raise a family on that forehead. I bet your mom's forehead is even bigger. A boy pushed the girl to the ground who began to cry. And your stupid pink hair, it's so ugly and weird. Stop. Leave me alone. The girl curled up and cried. What the hell are you doing? A voice shouted. The pink-haired girl peeked from behind her hands, showing her bright emerald green eyes. What do you want, loser? One of the bullies shouted and got in Naruto's face. Hey, I know you. You're that Naruto kid my mother said to stay away from. She said you're a demon. Naruto grinned. Oh, did she? Yay, but you look like a punk to me. The kid then threw a punch which Naruto easily caught. Naruto then got a wicked grin on his face, which sent shivers down all the kids' spine, making them feel fear to the highest degree and piss their pants. You attacked me. You know what this means, don't you? No. The bully who had his hand caught in Naruto's hand stuttered out, trying to get his hand loose. It means. The grin grew on Naruto's face. I can defend myself. Naruto then punched the kid in the face, sending him to the ground with one hit. Naruto then raised his foot and started to rapidly stomp the kid's gut, making him gasp and cry in pain. Naruto stomped a mud hole in the kid and then moved to the others who were scared. It's 2 vs 1. We can beat him. The bully said, quivering under the grin of this demon in front. He also hoped to make his friend charged with him. Let's get him. They both charged Naruto, who simply ran back towards them. After a few minutes the kids were on the ground bleeding and groaning in pain. Let's see what you got. Naruto reached down and dug in the kid's pocket looking for something good. He pulled out a load of money. Ooh, looks like someone's got a rich family. Gee, give that back, my mom gave that to me. The kid grabbed Naruto's boot but was kicked in the face. Tell her I did it. What the K she gonna do? Naruto put the kid's money in his pocket and did the same with the other kids. Once Naruto was done, he walked over to the pink-haired girl who was scooting back from him in fear. Naruto, seeing this, gave the girl an easy smile, easing her nerves a little bit. The blonde crouched down in front of her. Are you okay? He asked with a smile. Why yes, and thank you. The pink-haired girl said, looking away. What's your name? It's Sakura Haruno. Naruto, hearing this, widens his eyes. This was the daughter of the nice lady on the civilian council, Mebuki Haruno. She held a lot of influence on the council and helped him out sometimes by giving him food, clothes, money, and a listening ear sometimes. Naruto then internally grinned. I saved her daughter from being bullied. I can keep her daughter safe as thanks. Naruto made up his mind to protect one Sakura Haruno. Well, Sakura-chan. The girl blushed from the affectionate name he gave her. I am Naruto Uzumaki. Want to be friends? After this, Naruto became Sakura's friend, protector, and brother from another mother. He was always there for her and kept all the bullies away, but made an attempt to keep her away from the more dangerous things he does in life. Flashback over. Those boys needed medical attention right away. The parents tried to press charges, but with Naruto only defending himself and Mebuki Haruno helping him, Naruto was able to get away with this. Well, if that is all you have to talk about, I am leaving. Naruto got up while Hiruzen just looked at him sadly. The 8-year-old boy turned and scowled at the Hokage. Don't look at me like that. You want me to act more like my parents, don't you? Hiruzen looked down at those words. He indeed wanted Naruto to be more like his father and mother, but it seems it was too late for things to turn out that way. Yet, you won't even tell me who they are. Pathetic. Naruto turned his back to the Hokage, giving him his back. Naruto really thought the third Hokage was pathetic. How could he let the councils walk all over him and do nothing about it? If it was up to him, Naruto would have Hiruzen step down and replace him with someone more qualified. The idea then hit him. If you want something done, you do it yourself. I'll become the Hokage and make this place shine. Naruto left the Hokage building with his destination in mind. While walking, he watched as the civilians glared at him with hate. He pulled out a rather big knife for someone of only 8 years old while releasing some ki. The threat was silent but spoke volumes. Try me, bitch. Naruto was no stranger to fools like this. They seemed to learn their lesson from when they first tried to beat him. He had used the Nine Tails chakra that day and killed a good chunk of them with it. Hiruzen had used his knowledge in seals to mess around with the seal in hopes to not have that happen again. Naruto would still occasionally have to beat up some drunk fool who thought he was tough shit. But after a couple punches, kicks, and cuts they would sober up. Naruto walked down the streets while keeping a calm face and future plans in his head. He made it to the red light district or the ghetto part of the village. While walking he received nods and waves from the people, a contrast to what he got on the other side of the village. This part of the village was for the outcast and they all shared that in some way or another. Naruto-kun. The blonde rolled his eyes and would have walked away if he wasn't quickly grabbed by his back collar and smashed into a pair of generous. He didn't mind this part since all the men gave him jealous looks. The women had long orange hair. She wore a colorful bikini top with skinny jeans that had holes on the side of them. "Stop hogging him," a brown-haired girl said, wearing nothing but a bikini top and tan skin-tight pants with brown open-toed sandals, yelled and yanked Naruto into her. "I didn't get to see him last time, so I should have him all to myself," a girl with long wavy pink hair said and grabbed Naruto and pulled him into her chest. She was wearing a slim sleeveless red fitted top and mini skirt and red evening gloves. Much of her torso is exposed with a large versus shape in the middle exposing much of her cleavage and midriff, with red high-heeled boots. "Ladies, can..." Naruto was cut off when he was flicked on the forehead by the orange-haired woman. "Didn't we say to call us Oni-chan?" "Yes, Nami," Naruto said tiredly. These women drove him crazy sometimes, but they were like his big sisters and that is what big sisters do. At least that is what Nami said. "Great. Now what are you doing now?" the brown-haired girl asked and pulled Naruto in for a hug which he returned. These women held a special part of his small heart. "Well, Kana-ne-chan," Naruto said to the now-named Kana, who only gave Naruto a beautiful smile. "I was on my way to see Sakura-chan. Some bullies were picking on her again," Naruto said simply, as if this was not the first time something like this happened, which it wasn't. "Naru-chan, you can't keep fighting all the time," Kana scolded him lightly. "You know if you keep fighting, then Kami-sama won't let you into heaven." "Then I will make my own. I'd also smack Kami across the face if I saw them," Naruto said with determination and anger. "Would it hurt you if you prayed once?" the pink-haired woman spoke up. "Vanessa-ne-chan, I'll do it once, just for you." Naruto sighed out, causing Vanessa to smile and give him a peck on the cheek. "Now let's let him run off to his little girlfriend," Nami teased Naruto with a smirk. "It's not like that, and get to work," Naruto told the hookers. Kana whined. "It's been slow today. Can you come and hang out with us? The other girls miss you." She pushed up her to try and entice Naruto into just relaxing with them. When he stayed they would play cards, dance, sing karaoke or just have a good time. "No, I wasted enough time." Naruto turned and patted his clothes and walked off waving over his shoulder. "He is really something," Kana said with a smile. "Yes, he is. I just hope Kami watches over him. He already has it hard as it is," Nami said with a hand on her heart and a worried face. "Don't worry. Our little pimp will be just fine," Vanessa said and took a swig from her liquor bottle. Naruto walked down the street until he saw the familiar one-storied house of Sakura and her mother. Their father died during the Nine Tails attack, so it was just a mother and daughter duo. Naruto knocked on the door and heard the sound of footsteps approaching. "Hey Naru-chan." Mebuki opened the door and gave Naruto a motherly smile which made the young boy feel weird inside. The woman had shoulder-length blonde hair with a single bang that fell in front of her hair, green eyes that shined with kindness for those she loved. The woman had on a big pink shirt which had 3 red circles on the back. White pants that hug her body nicely and brown simple house slippers. Come inside. Sakura-chan was worried about you. She pulled the boy inside. Naruto faked being hurt. Oh, so you weren't worried about me. He received a bonk on the head. I am always worrying about you. You're giving me gray hairs. Mebuyuki pulled some of her blonde hair and showed Naruto a gray hair. Are you sure that's not from old age? Naruto teased until his ear was pulled harshly. Who's getting old? I am in the prime of my youth. Mebuyuki let go of Naruto's throbbing ear which was now red. Sakura-chan, Naru-chan is here. Naruto heard a door swing open and the sound of feet smacking the wood floor. Naruto looked on with a smile as Sakura came running out with a happy smile. She had on a navy blue dress with tan diamonds on her arms. She was wearing tan pants and no socks or shoes. Her pink hair was kept tied by a red bow Naruto had given to Sakura for her birthday. Naruto-kun. The girl yelled and jumped into the blonde's arms who caught her and spun the pink-haired girl around, causing the two to giggle and laugh. Mebuyuki watched from the side with a warm smile. The two looked like happy siblings and she was the mother. At times Mebuyuki felt as if she was Naruto's mother. It all kind of just happened with him keeping her daughter safe and always coming over and even sleeping here sometimes. One time she found Naruto fighting off a group of thugs trying to rob him. Naruto was bloody from fighting with nothing but his knife and hands while they had all kinds of weapons. Naruto had killed one of the thugs and was a little shaken up that night. Mebuyuki used the ninja skills she had from years of being a former kunoichi to knock out the other thugs before Naruto died. She had brought the shaking boy in for a hug and brought him home that night. They even bathed together since he was all bloody, which caused Sakura to worry and join them in the bath. All of this seemed to cheer Naruto up if the happy smile on his face at the end of the night was anything to go by. They all slept in her bed that night for a peaceful sleep. Naruto-kun, I was so worried. I thought the Hokage would punish you. Sakura said with worry and hugged Naruto tighter. I'm fine and a part of that is thanks to Mrs. Haruno. Naruto said with a smile and respect. Mebuyuki deserved nothing else in his opinion. She had told him that it was fine to just call her Mebuyuki but Naruto refused. Sakura gave her mother a grateful smile, one which her mother returned. Sakura then dragged Naruto to the couch and sat down to watch TV and laugh the day away. Simply enjoying the time she had with her loving big brother. Mebuyuki brought over some snacks and drinks and sat down. She then muted the TV and gave Naruto a worried glance that sent warning bells in Naruto's head. Naruto-kun, I heard some disturbing news today. Like what? Naruto asked, giving her his full attention. When I was leaving the council chambers I overheard the others talking about raiding your apartment. This news was nothing new to Naruto. The gangs often tried to rob him thinking he would be an easy target, but learned the hard way when they were met with his traps and trusty knife. There is nothing to be worried about, they will fail just like the others. Naruto told them diabolically. Sakura gripped Naruto's hand in an attempt to calm him down. They were no strangers to the rather dark side of Naruto and instead of trying to change him, which worked out to some degree, they simply learned to live with it and accept it. They said they will kill you. The room was silent. Nobody dared to even breathe. Naruto's eyes widened just the slightest and his grip on Sakura's hand tightened just the slightest, but it was enough for Mebuyuki to notice. What? The one to break the silence was Sakura. Mom, what are you saying? This must be some sick joke. Why do they want Naruto-kun to die? Sakura yelled, not wanting to believe the words her mother just said. Sure, he had done some things and was hated by the whole village, but to kill him was not necessary. Naruto wasn't even a ninja yet, but his life was already in danger from the people he was supposed to protect. This caused a strong but young hatred to form in the pit of her soul for the Leaf Village. Naruto grabbed Sakura's hand and looked at her with soft eyes. Relax, Sakura-chan. They won't do nothing, it's all talk. Naruto brought the girl into a hug while placing her head on his chest. Naruto gently stroked her pink hair while Sakura sniffled into his arms. While Naruto did this, Mebuki looked at Naruto intensely and saw the slight worry on his face. He may have calmed Sakura down, but who was going to calm him down? Mebuki watched as Naruto tried to think of ways he could make things better for him. Did they say what time they would be coming? Naruto asked Mebuki with a calculating look on his face. 6. It's 5:30 now, I can still go and grab everything of importance I would need. Naruto said and would have gotten up if it wasn't for Sakura. No, you can't leave now. Sakura put all her weight on Naruto in an attempt to keep him down. Sakura-chan, it will be fast. I promise. Naruto used his superior strength to push her off of him. And I never go back on my word. Naruto got up and walked to the door, while Sakura and her mother followed. Is it really that important? You can just stay here, Mebuki said in a last-ditch effort to keep him here and safe. It is, and if I stay here, there is a chance those worms might attack your beautiful home. I won't allow something like that to happen. Naruto put his shoes on and turned to give them one last smile before he was rushed in a group hug. They hugged him tightly as if he might disappear. Naruto wrapped his arms around them and closed his eyes to hide the tears. He was so happy right now. To be loved this much really meant the world to him. Be safe, my son, Mebuki whispered in Naruto's ear, causing the boy's eyes to widen. After looking after the boy for as many years and raising him as best she could, Mebuki felt as if she earned the right to call him her son. She'll be damned if someone said otherwise. Naruto broke away from the hug and quickly turned. He opened the door and closed it while giving them a final side glance. Once the door closed, Sakura hugged her mother for comfort. Is Big Brother going to be okay? Sakura looked up to Mebuki with hope. We will pray for his safety. Your brother will come back. He promised, remember. Mebuki wrapped her other child in a hug. Naruto walked down the street with a serious look on his face. Oh, they got me. Head up. Naruto, they got you. Head up. The blonde started to run in the direction of his apartment since he didn't have much time left. Plans already going through his head about ways to make it back home. Naruto opened his door and ran to his room and reached under the bed and grabbed a box which could be unlocked with a key. He pulled out a key he kept in his boxers at all times. The box unlocked with a click and Naruto popped the top off and saw a picture in the box. It was him along with Sakura and her mother. They were in the backyard playing in the pool. Mebuki had managed to take a selfie with them. He remembered after the picture was taken they dumped a bucket of water on her head. There was another picture of Naruto and Sakura sleeping together after a long day of hanging out. There was another picture of Naruto with his Ne-chans. He was inside the brothel with a makeshift crown on his head while they sang happy birthday to him. Naruto smiled at the memories and placed the pictures in his pocket and grabbed another key. He got up and ran to a door which had 5 locks. Naruto opened the door and watched as white powder was wrapped up in bags and shaped to look like bricks. They will never taste cocaine again. Naruto grabbed a brick and closed the door while smashing the key with a hammer. It was a secret, but Naruto was a drug dealer. It was his drugs that floated around the village. It was no secret that there was some drug lord in the village, but nobody knew who it was. In reality, it was Naruto the whole time who ran the brothels and drug business. Using the brothel as a sort of base of operation, Naruto was able to make all kinds of moves and even managed to expand outside the Leaf Village. He used the money to fix up the red light district and give it to Mebuki in secret. Spending more time grabbing somethings and shoving them into his pants, Naruto was ready to leave. Bang! Naruto swung his head to his living room where his door was just slammed open. "Come out, demon." So it seems they just couldn't wait. Naruto chuckled, but it sounded empty. Naruto gripped his Bowie knife. It had a black handle with little design along it. The blade was 16 inches long and was silver in color with a pointy tip meant to pierce. Naruto strapped on a leather sheath that went around his waist, which was black in color and had a small swirl on it. This was something Mebuki got for him as a present. "I'd rather die before they capture me. Watch me bleed. There'll be bodies dropping when I'm caught. Thuggin' for life, and if you right, then die for it. Let them other brothers try, at least you tried for it. When it's time to die, just be a man and pick the way you leave. Peace, my ambitions as a Raida." Naruto resolved himself and got ready to face his would-be killers. Naruto walked into view with his ever-present smirk. This made the angry villagers sneer and curse him. "We are going to wipe that sneer off your face. As that's so, then go on, make my day." Naruto motioned them inside. Without wasting any time they marched inside with their own weapons drawn. One of them tripped a wire which caused Naruto to smirk at them. Naruto moved out of the way and watched with enjoyment as a knife fell from the side with great speed and hit someone in the head, killing them. "Watch your step," Naruto said mockingly. "You bastard, you tricked us." One of the people yelled. "Just like his kind. Demon fox." Naruto simply smirked at them with clear amusement. They didn't know how deep in shit they were. Naruto pulled out a knife and cut a string which caused a large log to drop from the ceiling and rush at them. It was then they noticed the kunai on the end of it. The civilians scrambled to get out of the door. Some were too slow and got hit by the log, sending them flying in the street. Naruto looked at a crawling man trying to escape. Naruto pulled out his Bowie knife and stabbed him in the head, causing the man's body to twitch before it froze. Got the floor red. Naruto kicked the body a few times. "Yay, that maggot's dead." The 8-year-old boy walked outside and saw more civilians crowding outside his apartment. Naruto then received a crushing strike to the back which sent him crashing in the middle of everyone. He quickly got to his feet and pulled out his trusty knife. He swung the knife to push them back, kept his head on a swivel, constantly moving so as to not be struck in the back. He casted a glare at the person who hit him and saw a man with white hair and a blue tint to it. The man was wearing a Chunin outfit and had a windmill shrunken on his back. It was Mizuki, the school teacher. "That bastard, I will be sure to get him back for this," Naruto said under his breath and did a quick slash towards some who were getting a little too close for comfort. "Get him!" Someone with a torch yelled and they all charged Naruto, who attacked like a wild animal and lashed out, hitting the closest thing to him. The boy punched, kicked, stabbed, and even spit. Naruto was not going out like a punk and was sure to bring some of these assholes with him. Over time, Naruto began to get overwhelmed and a thought crossed his mind. He had wondered where the Anbu were and how come nobody saw this. Naruto had to stop those thoughts as he was stabbed by a broken beer bottle. Naruto growled like a beast and struck out and stabbed the man in the neck with his knife. Naruto received a stab to his back. He was then punched in the face which sent him to the ground. It was then he suffered an onslaught of attacks. They stabbed him multiple times while punching him. Through all of this, Naruto didn't scream out, refusing to give them the satisfaction of hearing him in pain. The time passed and Naruto was left a broken mess in the street. His body had stab wounds all over and broken bones. Blood spilled from his mouth. He blinked his one working eye and saw the greedy bastards going into his home. He laughed to himself but stopped a second later when blood came out. "Didn't I say, why you be bastards would never get my shit?" Naruto brought his shaking hands into a ram hand sign. Say goodnight mother fu. CKER. With a burst of chakra, Naruto activated a load of paper bombs in his home which blew up in a grand explosion alerting the whole village. Over with Sakura, she looked out the window and saw the explosion along with her mother whose eyes were wide in horror. That was where Naruto's place was. No. Sakura yelled heartbroken as tears rolled down her eyes. The girl fell into her mother's arms, a sobbing mess. Mebuyuki was no different. Naruto's eyes closed one last time on the outside world with his last thoughts being about his sisters and mother. The blonde opened his eyes again to see darkness all around him. He couldn't tell up from down or right from left. All his pain was gone and replaced with nothing. Not being able to feel anything and simply looking into the endless void of nothingness. It was then Naruto felt something on his neck. He turned his head and saw two angry eyes. The eyes blazed with intense hatred and anger. The eyes then spoke up. You foolish boy, getting us both killed. If we weren't already dead, I'd kill you myself. And if I could slap the shit out of you I would. Naruto responded fearlessly. Do you know who you are talking to, child? The red eyes shot Naruto with an intense killing intent which sent him to his knees gasping for air. Naruto managed to raise his head and glare back at the eyes. This action surprised the eyes in the darkness. Stupid fox. I don't give a damn. Naruto got to his feet but struggled a bit due to the oppressive killing intent coming from the nine-tailed fox. Maybe if you didn't attack the village, neither of us would be here. Naruto got a growl from the fox. You think I wanted to attack your pathetic village? Destroying everything, killing a bunch of people, and killing the fourth Hokage. Seems like you wanted to do that. The 8-year-old said as if it was nothing. Why would I, the strongest tailed beast, want to attack a village? If it was up to me, I would do better things. The beast growled with anger. If it was up to him, he wouldn't even be in Fire Country. Naruto's eyes narrowed in suspicion. What do you mean if it was up to you? Naruto questioned the fox with an intense gaze. Sharp mind. The nine tails complimented the boy in his mind. You heard what I said. There was no way he, the strongest tailed beast, would admit to an 8-year-old human that he was controlled. You were controlled or manipulated in some way, right? Naruto asked with a smirk. The nine tails widened his eyes in shock. Why was he acting so surprised? He lived inside the boy for 8 years and was able to read his mind while also feeling his emotions. The fox would have given him an answer if it wasn't for a bright red light blinding them both. The two opened their eyes, which revealed the once dark place was now being illuminated by a red light. This allowed Naruto to see the giant fox, which led to him laughing his off. Ha 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 ha, you have bunny ears. Naruto fell to the ground laughing while he kept saying he had bunny ears. Kurama gained a giant tick mark and glared down at Naruto. He opened his mouth and dark energy started to form in his mouth. He was going to blast the boy away with a tailed beast bomb. Naruto felt the power build up and looked at Kurama with worry. Hey man, I was just joking. Well, you can joke in whatever place you go to after this. The fox launched a tailed beast bomb towards Naruto, who looked on with no fear. He was not going out like a bitch. This gained the respect of the nine tails, who would be sure to give the boy a quick death. The bomb of destruction would have connected and killed Naruto again if it wasn't for the attack being swatted away. The bomb flew what seemed like miles away before crashing and blowing up, sending shockwaves throughout the dark void. No fighting until we finish our business. The voice of a seductive woman sounded out. She possessed jet black hair and the face of a goddess. The black-haired woman had golden irises and vertically slit pupils. On the side of her head Naruto could see two thick horns which came from her head protruding crookedly, and on her waist sat two black angel wings. The woman was wearing a pure white dress with silky gloves covering her slender hands and golden spiderweb necklace that covered her shoulder and chest. Damn, she's hot. Naruto stared blankly and in awe of the woman's beauty. She even looked better than the hookers at his brothel. If someone like this was working there, he would be swimming in cash. Her beauty was simply unhuman if he was being honest, not to mention the horns on the side of her head. Era, Naruto-kun. The woman turned her golden eyes on him with a seductive gaze. The boy's cheeks gained a little red to them as he was entranced by the woman's beauty. It's nice to finally meet you. She grabbed his hand and pulled him up while pushing him into her chest, which was blessed to say the least. Who are you? Naruto asked with a small stutter. This woman was getting to him. Who am I? The woman put her hand to her mouth and let out a cute laugh. I am the devil, demon queen, the evil one, the most evil to exist. My name is Albedo, the queen of hell. Naruto and the giant fox dropped their jaws. Naruto couldn't believe he was talking to the queen of hell. This must mean he was going to hell. Well, if that was the case, there was only one thing he could do, and that was to become the demon king. The fox, however, was having different thoughts. She knocked away my bomb like it was nothing. Maybe I should try again to see if it was just luck. Damn, you're hot as hell. Naruto said the only thing a hood rat could say. Yay, it was cheesy, but he was only 8. Albedo laughed to herself. Like I saw, he is brave and fearless. He would have no doubt completed that prophecy the gods came up with if he was left alone. But with the way he was turning out, I doubt he would even be interested in peace. Albedo ran a finger under the boy's chin, making him stare into her golden eyes, which had done many cruel things. Naruto-kun, you died. Gee, thanks. But your life does not end here. I was able to reach you before the gods got their hands on you and most likely would have resurrected you in an attempt to fill the prophecy. Prophecy? You mean the things old people give out in order to feel special? Yup, you got it, Albedo said with excitement. Why do the gods want me to fulfill this prophecy? Why would I be interested in doing something like that anyways? Naruto asked with crossed arms. And can you get us some seats? I don't want to be king standing all day. Albedo chuckled at the rather disrespectful way of speaking Naruto has. She would have killed others for even daring to ask her to do something so rudely. Then revive them and torture them slowly until they beg for mercy, which would not be given. With a snap of her fingers, Naruto was sitting on a chair made from skulls while the fox was shrunk down and now the size of a grown horse. Naruto looked surprised for a second until he remembered who he was talking to. The boy wiggles around on the bones trying to get comfortable. You know, these bones are actually pretty soft. Yes, feel honored, these are the deluxe bones of demonic beasts. They can change the matter of their bones however they want, Albedo said in a teaching tone to the two who nodded. Now, let's get down to why you have me here, Naruto said in a rather serious and fierce gaze for an 8-year-old. Albedo had to admit, seeing the blonde look at her like that and basically order her around was a little arousing, which made her white panties a little soaked. Calming herself and vowing to get the future devil sometime later. Yes, I have a deal to make with you, Albedo said with a sinister smirk. A deal with the devil? Naruto chuckled. If my mom knew about this, she would give me an whooping. Naruto then got a depressed look on his face. I assume you mean Mebuki Haruno? Albedo asked Naruto but already knew the answer. Yes, I assume you know my birth mother. Her name was Kushina Uzumaki, and she was the second host of Kurama, the nine-tailed fox. Naruto shifted one of his eyes to Kurama and had a rather furious look in his blue eyes that gleamed intensely. Kurama was unaffected by the look and rather poor killing intent being aimed towards him. And what of it? Going to do something about it? Kurama said blankly but had a slight edge to his tone. The fox then looked at Albedo with anger. Why did you reveal my name? Albedo sent out a sliver of her power to the fox and made Kurama freeze up and witness his death in horrific ways. Kurama felt fear like no other at this moment. This woman really was a demon. Because I felt like it. Albedo's reply was simple and to the point, leaving no room for argument. They were both snapped back to attention when Naruto asked his next question. Do you know who my father is? The fourth Hokage. Albedo answered without missing a beat. Naruto held his head down. He was silent for a moment before his shoulders shook. He then laughed. But the laugh had no humor and sounded rather empty. So, the old man lied to me after all. To think, I am a drug dealer living in the worst part of the village while my father is the Hokage of all people. Naruto took a deep breath and calmed his racing heart. Now that we got that out of the way, what do you say we get back to our deal? I have a few stipulations in order for me to accept this deal. Naruto said firmly. His previous demeanor was gone in an instant. Albedo looked at Naruto shocked for a moment. She was expecting this to be a little more challenging. Thinking she was gonna have to manipulate and sway Naruto to do what she wanted. But it seems he is ahead of her and willing to do whatever as long as she gives in to his demands. What would you like? Albedo asked and summoned some magic over her hands, which took the color of a deep purple. I will become the Demon King. I also died, so that means I need a new body. I want a new one. I also wish to keep the ability to use chakra and any other forms of power that I shall encounter. I wish to be able to go from hell and earth whenever I please. Naruto finished with finality. The boy's demands were not easy. Kurama had his mouth wide open at the balls of this kid. To ask for so much from the Queen of Hell. And to do it all with a straight face. Not to mention, did he just say, Demon King? Albedo asked with her mouth open the slightest and eyes a bit wide. Not only did Naruto ask for so much, but he said that there would be a new ruler of hell. This must be some cruel joke from those damn foxes. She would kill whoever came up with this joke. Yup, and the other things as well. Naruto told the beautiful women. Albedo then threw her head back in laughter which echoed throughout the dark void. To think, a boy had more bravery than most demons was really something else. If she let this boy go, he would surely do some great things in hell. Albedo calmed down from her laughing fit and looked at Naruto with a sadistic gaze. You've got a deal. Just know that when you travel from hell to earth, it will alert the Demon Slayer Corps to your presence. The Demon Slayer Corps was an organization of angels meant to slay demons who escape hell. Many wars have been waged because of demons breaking from hell and trying to take over the elemental nations. If a demon was powerful enough along with possessing the correct talents, they could leave hell undetected. The backlash, however, was too great and would result in a giant loss of their power along their territory if they owned any. So mainly weak demons would try to escape only to be slain by the blasted angels. Figures as much, it would be a nice feeling to slay an angel. Naruto said with a smirk. Oh, trust me, it is wonderful, Albedo said with a face of delight and red cheeks. The feeling of slicing into them and hearing their screams of pain is just music to my ears. It just causes us demons to go wild and spill all kinds of blood, leading to bloody wars. Wicked. Naruto shot her a grin. Until he remembered what he was doing. Now, can you give me what I want? Or no? Who do you think I am? Albedo looked offended. Of course I can. The woman rose from her throne of bones and walked over to Naruto, who had also stood up. Kurama backed up, not having a good feeling about this. The fox also wondered why he didn't leave this place and begin to reform again. On 3. Albedo said with a sweet smile. 1. 3. Albedo placed her hands on Naruto's head and watched as he screamed in bloody murder from the intense pain which was like a sweet tone to Albedo's ears. When the demon queen stepped back, she and Kurama watched as Naruto's body began to shake and immense power began to surface. Naruto then exploded in a last yell which shook the endless void of darkness, making both watchers' eyes to widen. They were both silent for a moment and looked at the place where Naruto once stood. Albedo blinked for a moment. Did she use too much power and erase Naruto's soul? Kurama looked at where Naruto vanished with shock. It was then he noticed he still wasn't going back to the elemental nations. He turned his head towards Albedo, who was looking out blankly. Why am I not going back? Albedo looked down at Kurama and smirked. That's because your soul was tied to Naruto-kun's. So in a way, you two died. Albedo said, a little too happy. Even if so, I would reform in the elemental nations. Kurama said angrily until Albedo narrowed her eyes at him, causing the fox to remember what happened earlier. I severed your connection with Naruto-kun, but in doing so, I made you a demon as well. Kurama's eyes widened in shock. He was no longer the creation of the Sage of Six Paths, but now the creation of the Queen of Hell. So you are now a demon fox for real. And Naruto-kun's companion. What? I don't want to be that brat's companion. Send me back this instant. Kurama shouted with anger at the devil. He has reached his limit. Albedo was about to reprimand the fox violently until she felt something enter her senses. The woman turned her golden slitted eyes to something truly fascinating. Bones, organs, body parts, a heart, a brain, and many other things that created the body of a living organism formed in front of the two. Skin quickly took form and the body twitched and began to move. The body of a 19-year-old was seen standing in front of them. It was shown to be a male based on the lower organ that was rather large. The teen had black hair which seemed to make the darkness shine gray. Eyes that were both black and red, possessing a black iris and red pupil with a thick red outline. Sharp features which looked like royalty. His body was perfect and had no flaw, a slim body which could travel at great speed, but muscles that were surely not for show and could cause great pain. The most noticeable thing, however, was the two black dragon horns that sat on the top of his head proudly and shined in the darkness. An overall handsome young man and a future lady killer. Albedo was blushing at the man in front of her. There was no doubt, this was Naruto. Or the new Naruto. She could feel his power from here and could feel that he was turned into a demonic dragon of the highest caliber. If she wasn't careful, he just might take her place in the next 1,000 years. However, Albedo was a succubus and a need quickly spread through her which only Naruto could reach. Now this is what I'm talking about. Naruto clenched his hands and flexed his muscles unknowingly, giving Albedo a show. The now physically older Naruto smirked at the new power he felt flowing through his body. He then smelt something with his greater sense of smell and looked as Albedo was panting with a red face and had a sweet smell coming from her. On an instinctual level, Naruto's member twitched and he felt a need rise in his body. Albedo couldn't take it anymore and jumped on Naruto, who caught her with ease. They began to lock lips in a lustful kiss which was wild and fierce. They battled for dominance with their tongues and hands roaming each other's bodies. Due to having years of experience in these kinds of things, Albedo was able to rather easily dominate Naruto's mouth, but he did not let her dominate him like most demons she brought to her chambers. Albedo broke from the kiss with lust clear in her eyes, while Naruto was no better and simply going on primal desires right now. Let's take this to my chambers, little dragon. Albedo snapped her fingers and the three were transported to her bedroom, which was fit for royalty and a demon queen. Kurama immediately ran to the door, not wanting to see any more of these two. He used his 9 tails and opened the door and went outside with a whimper. It was the next day and Naruto was standing in the throne room of the demon castle. Next to him was Kurama, who grumbled about having to be a demon fox and travel with Naruto. The red-eyed teen was wearing a skin-tight sleeveless black shirt. He had red loose pants which hung over black chained boots. Black fingerless gloves with metal pieces on his knuckles. Albedo told him it was high-grade metal, which meant it was up there in terms of metal. Over everything was a black traveling cloak with a hood. Naruto had a smile on his face while looking at Albedo. She had done much for him in a short time and he would be sure to repay her kindness. But now was not the time for that. He had a mission and underworld to take over. Albedo was surrounded by her servants while on her luxurious throne. The servants varied between humans, demons, hybrids, and beasts. She then looked at Naruto and smirked in an evil manner. You wish to be the Demon King, right? This caused those in the throne room to gasp and would have spoken up if it wasn't for Albedo placing her hand up. Someone did not get the message. A man with white hair and a slim body. He had two small demon horns coming from his head. He grit his teeth in anger and launched towards Naruto with anger and a sword drawn which was cloaked in a dark red aura. You impudent brat! Naruto turned to the man coming down on him with his sword aimed to take his head off. His eyes glowed an intense red and got a red glowing rune that formed in his eyes. The white-haired man froze in mid-air before his body turned to ash and was destroyed. What was left was a glowing red flame. Naruto walked over to the flame and something inside of him told the young demon to take the soul and consume it. Naruto's eyes became black and red slits and his already sharp fangs poked from his lip. Naruto's hand took on a red glow and he gripped the soul and felt the guy try to escape, but there was no way out for him. Naruto opened his mouth and tossed the soul into his mouth and felt his power skyrocket, causing the castle to tremble. Oh man, that is something. Naruto picked up the sword of the person he had just killed. It was a standard size, moderately curved blade. The sword was 39 inches and shined in the light of the room. The hilt was black and wrapped with red tape. At the bottom of the hilt sat a small skull with glowing red eyes. There was a round guard which was red in color. The blade was a nice material which was made from the bones of high demons. It shined silver with a faded dragon going up the edge back of the blade. An overall nice weapon which would help Naruto slay his enemies he would no doubt face. Naruto picked up the scabbard for the blade which was black in color and had a red dragon that seemed to be flying to the top. Albedo was internally shocked at what she just saw. That was the Megan magic eye. It allowed the user to see the flow of any power source that the regular eye cannot see. By pouring magic or any power source into their eyes, the user can see the blood inside others or anything that is far away. Megan can also see the essence of magic and its formulas, allowing those with superior magic eyes to learn magic more easily by observing it in greater detail. And depending on their mastery of magic eyes, they can see through various types of concealment magic as well. This was only the small things on the long list of abilities these eyes possessed, and if Naruto could master them all, he would surely have an easier time on his journey. Okay. Before you kill someone else. Albedo clapped her hands, gaining everyone's attention again. Naruto and Kurama, you two will embark on a journey to conquer the demon realm in an attempt to gain the title Demon King. She received a resolute nod from Naruto while Kurama looked away and grumbled about not having a choice until Naruto bonked him on the head. Pay attention, she might give us some good information. Naruto whispered harshly to the fox who showed Naruto his fangs. It will take you a long time, so you shall leave now. Naruto turned around and started walking off with his fox and new sword. Albedo looked at Naruto's back. There was no doubt in her mind that Naruto wouldn't make it far in this place. The question was how far he would make it. Don't die and waste my kindness, which is barely giving out. Yay. Nice to know you have faith in the future King of Hell. Naruto only gave her a wave over his shoulder. A part of Albedo wanted to punish Naruto for showing such disrespect in front of these people. But another part was refreshed at not having someone submit to her every will and do whatever she asks of them. What was she talking about? She was the demon queen. So what if this fool died? People die every day and it would be no sweat off her beautiful back. Naruto then jumped on Kurama's back and drew his sword to the sky, which was crimson red with a glowing white sun. The scene looked pretty charismatic if the servants had to be honest. Oh hell no. Kurama used his tails and took Naruto off his back and threw him to the ground. I am not a horse. I am the great nine-tailed demon fox. Well, you sure took to your title fast, didn't you? Naruto said from the ground and got up. He pulled his hood up and stopped for a second. Naruto turned his head and looked at Albedo one last time and sent her a smirk which made her blush a little, but the queen quickly pushed the blush from her face. Naruto turned and began to walk off again, followed by Kurama, on their journey to conquer. Room was heavy with tension. It was so thick, you could cut it with a knife. The clan heads sat in their seats on one side of the table, a little on edge at the situation that happened yesterday. The civilian side of the council was finding it hard to keep their excitement contained. The demon child was dead and the village could now be safe. The thought of how this weakened their villages never crossed their minds. All except for Mebuki Haruno. Her arms crossed in a silent rage in her usually kind emerald green eyes. The woman didn't even want to be here. She'd rather be with her grieving daughter who was a wreck. Mebuki had left Sakura in the loving arms of the brothel that Naruto ran. They were all too happy to look after her child, and she was grateful. Hiruzen looked at the mother with sadness and hints of regret. Things had turned out for the worst. Naruto, the son of the fourth Hokage, was dead. The Nine Tails gone, leaving their village unguarded and open to be attacked by anyone feeling bold. The village still possessed strong ninjas, but with no tailed beast to cause mass damage to a large number of forces, it would prove incredibly hard. Hiruzen sighed and stacked the papers together in his hand on the desk. Gaining everyone's attention in the silent room. I am sure you all have mixed feelings about the event that took place the other day. The Hokage's statement got many to send him glances of understanding. The civilians smiled while the clan heads felt anxious about what would happen due to Naruto's passing. The attack on Naruto Uzumaki was unacceptable. Hiruzen noticed Mebuki shift uncomfortably at the mention of Naruto's death. Not only is this unacceptable because he was just a boy, but because he also kept the Nine Tails at bay. Hiruzen finished with an angry shout. That is when a civilian member stood to his feet. What are you talking about, Lord Third? We killed the demon just like the fourth Hokage was trying to do. If looks could kill, Mebuki would have killed the man with her gaze alone. This caused the man to recoil in fright and sit back down. Hiruzen sent his own glare toward the man for his comment. The child is dead and never to be seen again, while the beast will simply reform later down the line. Hiruzen informed the chambers. For countless years, we hidden villages used the tailed beast to battle our enemies. We possessed the strongest, which kept others from attacking out of fear of the strongest tailed beast. Hiruzen lectured the civilian council who might not be aware of this. But what does that have to do with the boy? A plump man of the council asked, not understanding why the death of Naruto was so important. They all heard a tired sigh. Naruto was an Uzumaki of the once great clan. They possessed incredible power in all aspects of shinobi. They were also the only clan capable of containing the nine-tailed fox. Shikaku droned in a lazy voice. While on the inside he was thinking of ways to try and solve the problem they would no doubt face. It was then the civilians started to piece the puzzle together. With no Uzumaki left to contain the beast, nor a seal master with the knowledge, we have to worry about the strongest tailed beast walking around and able to destroy anything it so wishes. Hiruzen finished gravely. We're in deep shit. Soon summarized everyone's thoughts out loud. You should really not say those kinds of things out loud, Soom-san. Shibi said behind his collar. Oh, shove it up your bug. Everyone was thinking it. Sume rolled her slit eyes and leaned back in her chair. What are we going to do? Kaharu asked. If the other villages find out we lost the 9 tails, they might try and capitalize on our weakness. Hamura said with hints of worry in his old voice. This would have never happened if you had just given the boy to me. Danzo said with an "I told you so" tone of speaking. He was paid no mind, however, as there were bigger things than proving he was right. We will act as if we still possess the 9 tails, Hiruzen declared. Everyone is dismissed except Mebuki and the clan heads. What is it now, Hokage-sama? Hiyashi asked. There are some other things about Naruto I wish to tell you all. Hiruzen said, and noticed how the clan heads didn't seem all too interested while Mebuki was all ears. Like what? The kid was the kingpin of the hidden gang moving drugs and all other kinds of illegal dealings in our village. Sume said, and then laughed at her own joke. But she noticed the serious look on Hiruzen's face and let sweat form on her head. You're joking. The Hokage snapped his fingers and an Anbu dropped down and handed him a book. Hiruzen showed them the black book with a hardcover. This book is called the 10 Crack Commandments by Naruto Uzumaki. From what I've seen so far, it's about how Naruto managed to explain how he was able to accomplish so much. Hiruzen said with sadness. To know Naruto was involved in such a life at only 8 years old. He wishes he had done more for the boy and maybe he would be alive. Please read. I would like to know how we let an 8-year-old boy accomplish so much. Inoichi said, leaning up in his seat. Hiruzen finished with an uncomfortable look on his face. He barely understood what Naruto was saying, not to mention the choice and lack of writing format the boy had. Mebuki had her hands covering her face as she didn't know how to feel. Embarrassed that Naruto wrote such things down, or angry that he was in charge of all the underground dealings. But also a little proud that he could successfully run such dealings without being caught. Whatever it was, she needed to leave and go see Sakura. Mebuki got up and silently walked out of the room. No one stopped her since everyone knew she was the closest to Naruto. Well, that was something. Inoichi said blankly. I would have loved to run a session on the mind of that boy. I want to know what this cake is. Sume said. What are we going to do about his business? Is there any proof? Hisashi finally spoke up. His opinion on the matter was almost nothing, as he felt this was the Hokage's problem since he wanted to look after Naruto. Hiruzen got over his discomfort and flipped through the book. No, he never said where he kept the drugs. But we did get this from his destroyed house. Hiruzen pulled out a block of crack and sat the heavy object on the table. This is crack. Mebuki placed a flower over a tombstone. It was for Naruto, her surrogate son. A lone tear rolled down her face as she quickly wiped it away with her sleeve. Around Naruto's gravestone were several flowers. People from his brothel and red light district came to mourn his death. The boy's funeral wasn't a big one since a large part of the village hated him. Those of his brothel and red light district showed up and paid their own respect to the boy. Naruto got the homeless off the street and put clothes on the back of those who couldn't do it themselves. Mebuki knew that Naruto had been in a dark line of work, but to think it was this bad was crazy. Naruto was a kingpin, or Damathafu. Sea King Don as he sometimes called himself. A chuckle escaped her lips as Naruto would introduce himself like that when he entered their house. Sakura would copy him and they both laughed until they received a harsh scolding and a couple of hits to the head. Too soon, Mebuki said and began to walk off. She was referring to the death of Naruto. There was still so much left for him to do in this world. But she'd never get to see him again. Mebuki then left to go and pick up her daughter, who was no doubt in pain about everything going on. Mebuki was outside the building, which looked more like a luxurious mansion. The name of the place was called Happy Place. A rather simple and boring name, but it did just what the name said. The mother knocked on the door and waited for someone to come and open. "Who is it?" A male voice came from behind the door. "It's Mebuki. I'm here to get my daughter." "Mebuki-sama," the man said in alarm and quickly unlocked the door. The door opened and it revealed a guard in lavish orange battle robes with a sword on his waist. Mebuki sent an awkward smile toward the respectful guard. Naruto had ordered everyone to address Mebuki with the respect of a noble. They acted like she was the fire daimyo. "Hey, Curtis," Mebuki addressed the man who had long black hair that went to his lower back. It was tied up at the top, while two bangs fell down the side of his fair skin. He possessed light brown eyes and almost invisible eyebrows. His face a respectful smile towards the great lady. "Good day, great lady." Curtis bowed. "Do you know where Sakura-chan is?" Mebuki asked with a soft smile. Curtis smiled. "She is upstairs with Nami, Kana, and Vanessa. They have been keeping her company all day. Those three had even cancelled all clients today just to be with Sakura. They are the face of the company and only cancelled jobs when the person was ugly, broke, or something important popped up." "Okay, thanks." Mebuki waved and walked off down the hall. The place was decorated perfectly as usual, there wasn't a dirty spot. The floors were finely crafted of oak wood while tables of the same texture rested to the side. People sat at the tables with drinks in their hands or beautiful girls dancing on them. The ceilings were high and also an oak wood with giant chandeliers that hang from the ceilings with several candles and gems glowing on them. There was a long bar with several people sitting and laughing while taking multiple shots. A sexy bartender in lingerie while a loose robe rested on her shoulders. Most of the girls were in lingerie or topless with only underwear on. It was the uniform around here. A stage rested in the middle with a walkway leading to the back. A pole that reached all the way to the ceiling rested in the middle. There was a woman in just her underwear doing pole dancing. Men stood around the stage and threw their latest paychecks to the women. Music played in the background but did nothing to cancel the cheers of the horny men and even women throwing their money at the women. The mother blushed and felt embarrassed at the moment. Every time she came here, it led to her feeling embarrassed and wanting to leave. Mebuki was now questioning if bringing Sakura here was such a good idea. The place was also busy, it was only noon. Things really popped off at night time. Naruto would say something about freaks coming out at night. But that boy said a lot of weird things. Many waved and bowed towards her and all the mother could do was wave shyly and walk to the wooden stairs that were to the back and along the wall. Mebuki made it up the stairs and saw the upstairs was like a resting area with private rooms. Rose petals lay on the ground and slow music played. At the very end of the halls was a rather big room which read King's Room. It was where Naruto slept and off limits unless he said otherwise. Mebuki walked down the hallway until she reached the door. Mebuki knocked on it and called for the people she hoped were inside. "It's me, Mebuki. Nami, anyone in there?" Mebuki heard the sound of slippers sliding across the floor and mumbled voices from behind it. The door opened to show Nami in an oversized sweater and orange hair tied up. "Hey there, Mebuki-sama. We got the little pinkai right here." Nami let the door open and reveals the giant room made for royalty. "Mommy." Sakura jumped off the bed and ran to her mother. Sakura gave her mother a hug and was soon picked up. Mebuki smiled gently as she patted her daughter's head. "Hey sweetie, how are you?" Sakura smiled. "Better now that you're here." The two then heard someone whine from the bed. Vanessa was resting on the bed in nothing but mahogany undergarments. "Don't make it seem like we didn't have any fun." "Yay, it was surprisingly a good day." Kana set down her liquor bottle and grinned. She at least had on a full outfit, even though it left little to the imagination. "And no, I didn't mean it like that, I enjoyed our time together." Sakura tried to correct what she said. The girls then laughed at Sakura's attempt to cover herself. Nami saved her from further embarrassment. It's okay Sakura-chan, we just messing with you. Well thank you again. Girls, I really appreciate this. Mebuki thanked the women. There was no one else she trusted to watch her daughter, and there was no way Mebuki would take Sakura to the meeting. Especially since everything that was just revealed today about Naruto. It was no problem. Feel free to ask for our help anytime. We will have these guards escort you out. Nami clapped her hands and two men in black and built like mountains appeared in the doorway. Thank you. Mebuki bowed in thanks and walked to the exit which was carefully guarded by two guards. Once Mebuki was out, she walked to her house with Sakura still in her arms. Still in the king's room, the three girls were now glaring at a man. The man had a fair complexion and shaggy brown hair with a goatee to match. His eyes matched the color of his hair and he looked to be in his late 30s. He wore the same luxurious orange battle robe as all the guards. Expect his was open and reveal his damaged bare chest. The man wore brown pants that had white ankle tape which went up to his knees. On his back rested the handle of a short sword. What do you want, Flask? Nami spat his name out. She hated this jerk like everyone else. She had no idea how Naruto could put up with the man. He was the head guard around here, which made him in charge of all security and the strongest. I just came to give my condolences to the beautiful mother. Flask's voice was gruff and despicable, as if there was always an ulterior motive. You stay away from her, you know what Naruto said. Kana yelled and sent her angry glare toward the man. Flask scowled. Shut up. Keep your mouth closed unless you have it wrapped around someone's. Kana growled and pulled out a knife. You bitch, I'll kill you. She was about to charge him until Nami got in her way and held her back. Calm down Kana, you know it's useless to fight him. Flask smirked. Let's set some rules down, I am in charge now. Everything that Brat used to own is mine. Which means, Flask pulled the sword from his back and gave the woman a death glare. Get out of my room. The girls shrank under his gaze as he stepped into the room. They quickly grabbed their things and moved outside. Vanessa then asked a question. Why are you doing this? You know Naruto said to give everything to the great lady if he died. This was something everyone had agreed on. Some protested and tried to challenge Naruto's decision but were dealt with. An evil grin then spread across Flask's face. That punk is dead, and it's all thanks to those stupid civilians. You know, just a little push and words here and there will get people moving. The girl's eyes widen in horror. You sent those people after Naruto. Nami shouted in outrage. This bastard was the reason her little brother had died. She wished she could kill this asshole, but Flask was a retired ninja. Though he was only a chunin, that was still more than anyone here. The grin only grew on Flask's face as the door was slammed and all they could hear was the evil laughter of Flask. The girls grit their teeth at the situation. They would have to follow the orders of Flask who nobody liked and was only kept around for his strength. Hell Albedo's throne room. Albedo sat on her throne comfortably. Naruto and Kurama had just left. Her mind was on Naruto. She wanted to go and see that pesky peeker and see what the future held. But that would get rid of the fun of seeing what the future held. Questions were all on her mind. How did Naruto become a demonic dragon? And not just any dragon, Naruto was part of the higher tier dragons. She meant to just make him a demon and watch Naruto advance from there. Albedo placed a hand on her beautiful face and sighed. This should have been expected from the child of prophecy. Naruto's magic was dense and powerful, much more than it was supposed to be for being such a new demon. Maybe being born in the endless void was why. No, that was merely an empty place to separate the realms. My queen. Albedo looked from her thoughts to see her someone looking down at her. Next to the throne was a tall figure clad in dark knight armor. His armor was all black and made the shadows jealous. On his waist was a deluxe tasset and possessed black waist tabards which fell between his legs, the left and right side of his waist. Black fur lined his pauldron. His shoulder guards resembled two screaming faces. On the side of his helmet were two crystal black horns that rose proudly to the sky. On his kneecaps were horned demon faces which were also in a screaming animation. The knight held a giant demonic battle axe with 3 glowing scarlet eyes. Yes, that boy just now, he was a dragon, the knight said in a questioning tone. But it came across as a statement. Albedo let her full lips turn upwards into a darkly amused smile. I'd expect nothing less from you, my dark knight. To her side, the knight bowed his head in respect. I am unworthy of such praise. Albedo waved. Nonsense. But back on Naruto. His source. The knight spoke once again. Shish. Albedo used her finger to cover her lips. Let's keep that a secret. Naruto-kun is a rare breed. Not many of his kind remain. Why didn't you inform him of such things? The knight questioned. Albedo chuckled darkly. Because it will be fun to see him fight for his life down here, with no idea of his abilities or what he is. The knight then remembered something very important about his queen. You're evil. Albedo pouted cutely. Ah, don't be like that. She weakly protested. It was the truth after all. But I do wonder, will Naruto survive? Does he have the mindset to survive? The Dark Knight pondered. You know so little. Albedo channeled her mana. In her hands was a flat screen tablet that lit up. On the tablet showed a video of an event that took place in Naruto's life. Watch. The video played. It was an 8-year-old Naruto with Curtis and Flask behind him. They were inside what looked like a bedroom as a man was on the ground with a bleeding lip and looking frightful. I am going to ask one more time, where is my money? Naruto asked with a calm face, although his eyes were a different story. They were that of the 9 tails and stared holes into the begging man. Why are we even wasting time with this fool? Let's just kill him. Flask yelled and pulled out his sword. He would have advanced if it wasn't for Naruto turning his eyes towards him. The blonde didn't say a word as the message was in his eyes. Pipe down. Naruto looked back at the man. His hair was black and messy. His black eyes radiated fright. Blood ran down his busted lip and sweat on his forehead. Jacob, where is my money? You had 2 weeks to give me the 50k you owe. But I find out you trying to skip town. It almost makes me think, you don't have my money. Naruto moved closer and yanked the man by the collar until they were face to face. Where is it? Jacob closed his eyes and pondered if he should tell. How did Naruto find out he was trying to skip town? Jacob was going to quickly leave the village and go stay with his girlfriend in Tanzaku town. He would be safe there since Naruto had no territory there along with his rival gang having a hold on that place. The leader of the gang had promised him as much. Jacob's head snapped to the side when a fist connected with his face. He turned but was struck again in the face. Again and again and again, he was being punched in the face. Naruto was not stopping. His right hand was bloody and beginning to hurt. Punch after punch, Naruto wanted answers and he would get them. Curtis, take his king leg. Naruto got off Jacob and backed up. No. Wait, please. Jacob pleaded and backed up. While Curtis advanced with his katana drawn. Jacob watched as Curtis held his sword up and began to bring it down. Jacob then cracked. Okay, I'll tell. Spill it. Naruto held his big knife toward the throat of Jacob. It's under the floorboard in the right corner. Naruto tilted his head in the direction of the room for Flask. Without wasting much time, Flask moved and lifted up the loose board to see a hole filled with money, drugs, and papers. He pulled everything out and showed Naruto. Flask couldn't help but feel greedy. He wanted all of this for himself. But he couldn't put his plans into motion since it wasn't the right time, not to mention that loyal dog Curtis was here. Naruto flipped through the money and his blazing red eyes scanned every part of the money. He also tossed the crack up and down in his hands. But it was the papers that caught his attention. Naruto read the papers and his eyes narrowed dangerously. He turned to Jacob, who only had one good eye working right now. Naruto could see that Jacob seemed to be even more scared. So you were the traitor spilling information, getting our delivery runs robbed. Jacob stayed silent. What could he say? His fate was just sealed and cast to hell. What? You little rat! Curtis yelled furiously. How dare this heathen betray their great leader? Naruto read over the papers once more. It seemed as if Jacob had been in contact with this rival gang for a while. Not only were you spilling secrets, but to Crystal Love of all people. Naruto crumbled the paper up and his red eyes seemed to glow an even intenser red as his oppressive chakra settled in the room. Naruto pocketed the drugs and money and began to walk to the door. Jacob knew what that meant and he threw himself at Naruto's feet. Please, I'll do anything. I am going to be a father. My girlfriend is pregnant. Let me see my beloved once more. Naruto looked at the begging man for a second. But he didn't take long to come to a decision. Why should I care? That question made Jacob's heart drop and his blood ran cold. No way Naruto would be this cold-hearted. Naruto was only 8 years old. Kill him. Naruto ordered coldly and walked out of the room and allowed Curtis to kill the traitor, while Flask followed a couple of steps behind. Albedo turned the tablet off and sent it away with her magic. While a smirk plastered on her face. See, he will be just fine. I am curious as to what fate holds for him. The knight answered with a satisfied nod. Now, back to work. Albedo said and put on librarian glasses. A desk appeared in front of her and she began to do paperwork. Hell didn't run itself after all. Naruto was walking down the cobblestone road with a shit-eating grin. He just couldn't help it. Every now and then his hands would reach and grab the horns atop his head. Stop grinning like that. You look like an idiot. Kurama said, annoyed. They had been walking for a couple of minutes and he had to watch Naruto grin like an idiot and reach for his horns. Not to mention Naruto was looking around with childlike innocence. But Kurama was also curious about the place. The sky was red. And all kinds of things walked around or flew in some cases. Not to mention there was this strange black demonic tower in the far distance. It reached all the way up in the sky and even pierced the clouds. I can't help it, I was just raped. Naruto yelled with excitement. Kurama looked at Naruto as if he had just grown a second head. That's not something to be happy about. Naruto scoffed and waved Kurama off. Why would I be mad? Albedo is sexy as hell. I'd let her do it again. Just wish I could have had more control. She tied me up. You have problems, Kurama stated blankly. Naruto paid no mind and simply flexed the muscles in his body. This felt strange but good. He had a new body and powers. He was a demon. A grin spread across his face. The power in his body felt immense and heavy, way stronger than chakra, which he could still feel he possessed somehow. There was another source of power in him called magic. His magic felt oddly destructive for some reason. Naruto looked at the blade on his waist. That demon had a good blade for a servant. The two saw a town up ahead. The building looked just like it did in the Leaf Village, but with a more medieval vibe to them. Along with the huge castle that looked as if it came from a fairy tale. Let's get some information at this town up here, Naruto said to his partner, who grumbled about being stuck with an idiot. The two made it to town and saw a sign that read "Welcome to Inferno Hell." So Inferno Hell is where we are. Not bad for a place for sinners. Naruto mused with a hand on his chin. I doubt I will be able to conquer this place since I am assuming all of this place is directly under Albedo-chan. Wow, you're actually smart. Kurama commented with hints of sarcasm. Come on, give me some credit. I ran a successful drug business in the strongest hidden village. Naruto said with pride in his voice and a puffed-out chest. Until his eyes widen. Quote, K. Naruto yelled and stomped his foot on the ground, which cratered and sent cracks spreading for several meters. I completely forgot about my business. All the people who work there are in danger. Not to mention that buffoon will try and take over in my spot. Naruto scowled in anger and his magic flared around him in a dark red aura. His magic was a storm of chaotic red that threatened to consume him. Yay, you should have put in some kind of backup plan. Kurama noted and sat on his butt while his tails waved lazily. Rookie mistake on my part. Whenever I figure out how to leave this place, I will go and check on everything. Naruto ran a hand through his black hair and sighed. Let's get back on track. I am sure someone will come and check out what happened here. The two walked off and didn't notice the flying hooded figure in the air observing them intensely, more specifically Naruto. That magic just now, it was a demonic dragon. A high-quality one as well. I need to get back to the 9th level and tell Brutus Sama about this. A pitch-black portal opened and he flew inside. His business was done in Inferno Hell, and now he was going back home. Inferno Hell. Naruto and Kurama walked down the bustling stone road. People were walking, flying, or riding in carriages. The two were still shocked at the diversity of it all. Everyone seemed to be getting along just fine and the place looked like a regular town. It was probably due to being under the direct control of Albedo. This whole area belongs to Albedo. No one would dare act out knowing the queen was present. Her massive tower could be seen from here. Naruto then saw a building. But not just any building. Strip club. Naruto looked at the building with excitement. This would be a prime place to gather information. Come on Kurama, it's time to take over our first base. Oh yeah, and how do we do that? Kurama walked beside Naruto and looked up at the building, which had a logo of giant red lips. The words strip club above the door in flashing lights. They were about to walk inside the club until a rather large demon stepped in front of them. His skin was the color of red and his head was bald with 4 baby horns on top of his head. Covering his hulking body was an all-black tux. Are you on the list? The guard asked with a small clipboard in his hand. Why don't you check? Naruto asked back. Name. Naruto Uzumaki and Kurama. Hearing the name of the two in front of him, the guard looked down and flipped through the pages. I don't see her. The guard stopped as Naruto and Kurama were nowhere to be found. Damn, those worthless demons. The guard rushed inside to quickly find the two. Naruto and a Kurama who was much smaller and the size of a grown sheep. This place is amazing, Naruto said as he observed the flashing lights. People were dancing everywhere. On the stage were a pole and beautiful demons in all shapes and sizes dancing in sexy outfits. The music was loud and people sang along. I doubt we can get anything from these drunk demons or whatever the hell they are. Kurama said with laziness all in his tone. The thought of why he was following Naruto crossed his mind once again. Nonsense. To the bar. Naruto walked over to the bar, which looked to be made from rich marble and deluxe leather seats. Let me speak with you, Sir Demon. Naruto said. What do you need? The blue-skinned bartender asked with a black tux. What's it like in hell? Naruto asked, getting straight to the point. Asking 21 questions would not help anyone in this situation and only make things worse for him. The bartender blinked his black eyes at Naruto. He then threw his head back and laughed. The name is Diyu, and I am guessing you are a new demon here. Correct. Naruto nodded and took a sip of the liquor Diyu just gave him. Well, this is called hell. It's where regular folks live and just have a day-to-day life in hell. Demons are born here while humans are sent here once they die. Diyu stopped and looked to see if Naruto and Kurama were keeping up with what he was saying. I am sure you two saw that giant black tower in the center of Inferno Hell. That is the 9 circles of hell. Naruto and Kurama had faces of shock. This place was an endless amount of shock. But the former blonde had a question. Can you be born inside the tower? The smirk on Diyu's face said it all. Yes, those are called tower demons. They vary in strength depending on which floor they come from. Those on the 9th floor are the strongest while demons on the 1st floor are the weakest of tower demons. How strong we talking? Naruto asked with a small grin. The image of Naruto sitting atop a throne with all the demons bowing at his feet. That's what he wanted. The demons on the 7th floor and below can destroy that place called Earth. Diyu said gravely. Diyu was a demon born in Inferno Hell, so he possessed no knowledge of anything outside of Hell. These were things he heard from those who had traveled from Hell to Earth or other universes. It wasn't many since they barely escaped the demon slayers. Naruto and Kurama blinked. Kurama less so since he could have also life-wiped the planet if he wanted to. While a slight shiver ran up Naruto's spine. To think that Albedo could control such monsters really put into perspective how strong she was. Well, thank you. I have another question though. Naruto spoke once he got over his shock. This time it's going to cost you. Diyu said with a grin and rubbed his fingers together. Well, you too. The giant demon from the door was approaching them with an angry face. Out. Now. Naruto grinned. Was just about to get my money. Naruto said to Diyu. He then felt a large hand grip him on the back of his neck and yank him from his seat. Oh hell no. Naruto slapped the man's hand from his shoulder and looked displeased. You bitch. Hope you're ready to die. Naruto let a deadly aura surround him. His black and red eyes changed into slits once more. They had become scarlet with a black slit for a pupil. A feeling of death took hold of the club and caused everyone to look towards the bar. TCH. You little brat, you knew demons need to be reminded of the pecking order. The guard unbuttoned his sleeves and took off his tux. Hey, Ray, they are new. Diyu called out to the guard who only looked annoyed at his statement. I don't care, I'll kill him. Set it off then. Naruto spoke coldly as the red aura around him only intensified and while the urge to destroy this fool took hold of Naruto. Ray charged toward Naruto with a beastly yell while magic gathered in his hand. It quickly took the form of flames. This was called Gustgam and it was the second lowest grade flame. It was the strongest fire spell Ray knew and would surely kill Naruto in one blow. Naruto's Magen activated once more and he simply analyzed the flame in Ray's hand down to the last detail. Naruto had no idea what he was doing and simply relied on his demon instincts to guide him from this point on. Naruto threw his hand forward to match Ray's oncoming attack. Everyone gasped once they saw the same flame appear on Naruto's hand. They connected and caused the club to tremble and rumble. The sound of a thunderclap echoed down the whole street. That was when everyone witnessed Ray be sent back into the wall. Ray spit up a mouth full of blood and his eyes trembled with fear. You couldn't win in a fight against me even if my defeat was fated. Naruto walked forwards and took out the silvery blade while aiming it toward the skull of Ray. Place please, spare me. Ray trembled in fear as tears came to the corner of his eyes. Naruto's eyes shined red and a cruel smirk tugged at his lips. No. Naruto brought the blade down and cut off the head of Ray. Everyone went quiet at the quick fight. The chief had made a strict rule that said fighting is not allowed. But this was a murder. Naruto witnessed the soul of Ray rise from his body. Driven by instinct once more, Naruto caked his hand in magic and grabbed the soul. He then opened his mouth and swallowed it. What is going on? A booming voice echoed from the hallway. Everyone turned to see the club manager. It was a man of average height with black hair that covered one of his eyes. His eyes were completely black and only a red pupil floated in the middle. He wore no shirt and revealed his heavily tattooed body and abs. He was wearing baggy black pants with jagged steel knee pads, while a chain was on his belt. Around his feet was black tape since he wore no shoes. Maganti-sama. Everyone yelled and bowed in respect to the intimidating man. This was Ballo Maganti, the club owner. That was when his red eyes landed on the form of Naruto and Kurama, who looked like they didn't give two shits. Ballo looked at the headless body of Rei and then towards Naruto, who had blood on his sword. Ballo could feel it. This boy was strong, too strong for a new demon. So you're the club owner. Nice place you have here. Naruto used the dead body of Rei to wipe the blood from his sword. It will be even better once I have control of it. Ballo narrowed his eyes towards Naruto. This boy was greedy and powerful, a nasty combination for anyone who dared to challenge the person. He clearly is not trying to make any deals with me. I can only imagine what life he lived. Ballo would not be killed here today, thought. He worked hard to make his strip club so great. It was nothing compared to the ones on the second floor of the tower. I'll strike first, before he can come up with a plan. Ballo rushed toward Naruto with a more extreme version of the Gusgam on his hand. Naruto's eyes glowed a shade of red and the symbol of destruction formed in his eyes. Naruto gazed at the flame in Ballo's hand before an instinctual spell came to his mind. Naruto was able to see the magic flow and even a formula that his eye translated for him. Magic eyes of explosion. Naruto whispered and the flame in Ballo's hand vanished as if it was scared to be in the presence of Naruto. Ballo looked shocked, but he couldn't stop since he was already on a path to Naruto. However, his body was forcefully stopped as he felt a hand ripping through his chest. Blood spilled from his lips and he gripped the hand through his chest. Naruto had his hand through the chest of Ballo and in his hand was a beating heart. With little effort, Naruto crushed the heart in his bare hands. A sickening squelch sounded in the silent club. Naruto raised his left fist and punched Ballo off his blood-soaked arm. Ballo fell to the ground and gasped while feeling the hole in his chest. It was then Naruto's foot impacted with his head. Ballo looked up to see the glowing eyes of Naruto looking down on him. He felt as if one of the demon lords was witnessing his lowest moment and judging him by it. Any last words? Naruto asked with a smirk. Ballo opened his mouth and was going to say something, until Naruto's black boot connected with his face again. Don't care. Naruto began to stomp Ballo's face over and over and over. Everyone heard a crunch and blood flowed like a river. Naruto had just squished the head of Ballo into nothing but a splatter on the ground.